right, to begin to build the relief sculpture from cardboard, what you're going to do to plan out first is what your shapes or your contour lines are going to be for your background, middle ground, foreground. So look at the photos that you printed out as a reference for this assignment, and you want to visualize what are those contour lines going to look like. So you can be inspired by the photo, but you are welcome to change up the composition and add things that aren't actually in the photo if you want to. So you need to determine what is your layout going to be. Do you want your cardboard to be vertical, or do you want your cardboard to be horizontal? I'm going to start out with mine vertical because I'm going to have this tall tree coming up through the middle. So I'm going to draw the contour line or the outside edge that's going to make up the shape of my palm tree. I'm not drawing any of the details on the inside because this contour line is representing the edge of the cardboard that I'm going to be cutting out to create my 3D pieces. So now that tree is a part of the foreground, and I'm going to put this tree on a little mound. That's not in my photo, but I'm going to add that. Then I'm going to have, so my tree is going to be my foreground, so the F stands for foreground, and then I'm going to create my middle ground. So for me, it's going to kind of be this mountain range off in the distance. So this is my middle ground, and then this would be my background. So when I have all my contours drawn out, now I'm going to take a pair of scissors and I'm going to cut those contour lines. So anytime we're using scissors, there is a circle shape that is the top and your thumb goes through, and the jelly bean shape is the bottom and your fingers go underneath, whether you put all the fingers in there or some of the fingers in there, whatever is most comfortable. To use the scissors to cut best, you want to cut right where these two blades connect. Please do not ever touch the blade with your fingers. Don't open it and hold on to it. That is not safe. That's how you can cut yourself. But it's best to cut from all the way back here and use the whole length of the blade to do the cutting. So the hand that's not holding onto my scissors, I steer the paper with. So the hand cutting, I really don't move that hand. All I'm doing is I'm opening and I'm closing. Now, this is going to get uncomfortable to try to turn my hand and cut back this way. So instead, I'm going to start a new cut. Now, it is okay that I'm cutting through the background because the letter B stands for background, and that is going to be my base layer of cardboard. So I'm not going to end up needing this piece of paper for my background. What I need the paper for is my foreground and my middle ground. So again, I'm going to turn that paper so it's easier to continue to open and close my scissors. So I'm going to cut this out until I have all my pieces separated. So when I finish cutting, I'm going to separate the middle ground piece and the foreground piece so that I have those as stencils to now use to trace on top of my cardboard. So you're going to get one piece of cardboard that's going to be your background. So whatever is farthest away from you in the distance, that's the background. So this is what mine is going to end up looking like. So for me, everything that's the sky is my background, and that's my bottom layer of cardboard. So now what I need to do is trace these contour lines, my stencils, and then I'm going to be cutting those out. So I'm going to line that up in the corners, and I'm going to trace along this stencil edge. Okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. I'm going to trace along the stencil edge. It is best when you trace stencils to stand your pencil up tall and just slide it along the stencil. When you tip your pencil at an angle, that's when you end up going underneath the stencil. All right, when I am done, I am going to carefully and slowly start to cut out those contour lines. So I don't want to cut anywhere inside of a middle ground or a foreground. It's okay if I end up cutting through a piece that was labeled background. So now I'm going to get my scissors and I need to carefully cut on this line. Here's where it makes a difference, where you really want to cut from where your blades are connecting, because this cardboard is thick and you kind of have to cut with some hand strength to get through that cardboard. But remember, we can glue anything back together if you accidentally cut through something. So I'm not going to give you a new piece of cardboard if you accidentally cut through a piece. We'll just patch it back together. All right, so now I'm going to go back on this line. Again, the hand not holding the scissors is doing the steering. Okay, so this piece, my stencil said it was my middle ground. So you are getting 2 pieces of cardboard. One piece does not get cut. Everything is going to get assembled or collaged onto the top surface. So I'm going to be gluing this down onto my background piece. When I do my gluing, I'm going to be using this little bottle of glue. First thing you want to do is shake it to get the glue to come down to the orange top. Tip it upside down. Then you have to untwist the orange top and then give it a little squeeze and you should start to see the glue coming out. So if it's attaching in this position, I need to turn this piece over and put the glue on the back side. I want to give myself glue a finger distance from the edge. Sometimes I think it helps if you draw a line to show yourself this is where my glue is going, and it's about a finger distance from the edge. So I'm going to squeeze on that line, and you can see how my hand is moving fast as I squeeze. If I don't go fast and I squeeze, I'm going to get a huge puddle of glue, and I don't want a puddle of glue. That's just being wasteful. I just want this little skinny line. So I'm going to spread that out. Okay, now I'm going to turn this over, and I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to glue that down where it needs to go. I want to have flat hands, and I want to be patient and hold this for at least 30 seconds so that the glue has time to adhere to the cardboard underneath, because if you don't press down long enough, the cardboard is just going to peel right off and separate, and we want this to be attached really well. Okay, then you can let that start to dry. So now I'm going to continue cutting out my foreground piece until that step is finished. All right, now that I have my palm tree cut out, I'm ready to build my foreground, but I want my foreground to be higher than my middle ground. If I just glue it down right here, there would have been no point in me cutting these as 2 separate pieces. I want this to be up slightly higher than my middle ground. So what I need to do is I need to put some cardboard pieces on the back side. So I'm going to use all my scraps that I have left over to cut them down into smaller pieces and start to glue those on the back of this shape that's my foreground. So when I've got those attached, then I'm able to glue this to my background piece, and then you will be able to see in person that your 3rd layer is up higher than your 2nd layer, or your foreground will be up higher than your middle ground. So you could see what happens if you put 3 layers underneath, or so a total of 3. So if you put 2 pieces of cardboard, then it's just going to bump it up even another level. So maybe I am going to do that. So I already have my first layer down here. I'm just going to cut my extra pieces into smaller shapes that would fit in these areas. So I'm going to put a 3rd layer on top. Remember that you don't need a significant amount of glue, or as some other elementary art teachers say, not a lot of glue. So I'm going to get these third pieces on here so that it's raised up just a little bit higher for my foreground. All right, so these are all my layers on the back side of this. I actually did 2 pieces on top of what I cut out. So when I turn this over and I glue it down, it's going to be raised up a little bit higher. So now I will put the glue just on the third pieces because that's where the contact's going to be. And then I'm going to turn this over and I'm going to hold that down for at least 30 seconds to get this to attach to complete my relief sculpture. So this is what my finished relief looks like, made out of cardboard. When you look at it from the side, you can see the different layers of my background, my middle ground, and my foreground. And then we'll be ready to start to color on the surface with our oil pastel.